Hi, this is Katrina Valancourt, also known as Love Coach Kat. And today I wanted to share with you how to use the heart-centered communication cards as a tool to resolve conflict, and also a tool really for self-understanding and to practice the skill of empathy for yourself and for others. So to share this tool with you, I want to share with you actually a very real situation that has occurred for me in this past year that had a lot of emotional potency to it. So it's a very ripe life challenge to apply these tools to. And what was happening is that last winter, my son let me know that he no longer was interested in living in the house that I was living in. I was in a community house, and that he really wanted to live full-time at his father's house, which was only 15 minutes away, but that's where he wanted to be. And his father and I were on good terms. I've applied these tools to our connection as co-parents and as friends, and have had great results with that. But this was a new challenge because my son's father is out of town about 50% of the time. He needs to travel for his work. And so in the past, if our son was at his father's house, then my son's stepmom would stay at the house. And she's really been there for him, and she cares about him a lot. And so in that regard, I was really grateful. But now that my son wanted to be there and not come to my house, it was causing a challenge, because of course I want to have my son in my life. I want to be there in his life. And one of the values that's really important to me is that I make requests, but I don't make demands. And so I had explored, could I get another two-bedroom place that's just our own? It would be financially really difficult for me to do that in Marin at that time. And even with that, my son wasn't interested in going back and forth between two houses. He really wanted to be in one. And what he wanted, understandably, is to have me at his father's house when his dad was out of town, which, on the one hand sounds like a great solution. On the other hand, it, of course, brought up some challenges, especially in this case for my son's stepmom. So this is a process that I did last spring as I was really in the midst of this transition, really experiencing the reality of my son's choice not to be in the home that I was in. So with that said, there's 4 decks of cards in this heart-centered communication card deck. So what we have are the universal needs, values, longings, and desires. And so this is that list. And then we have the uncomfortable feelings that are connected to when our needs, values, longings, and desires are not met. We have the comfortable feelings that happen when our needs, values, longings, and desires are met. And then we have our virtues or character strengths cards. And these are our spiritual opportunities, the ways in which we can grow when confronted by real-life challenges. So the way these cards work is pretty simple. You take out a deck of cards. So I would start with the universal needs cards, and you flip through it, and you just make 2 piles. Is this something that applies? So do you have a yes, or is it a no? So in this case, these were not needs of mine. But partnership, that's a need of mine. Harmony. Equality. Some empathy could be nice. Those are the ones that stand out in that pile. And I actually, I went through these earlier, so I don't have to have you watch all of the sorting of cards. So these are the remaining cards here that I pulled out that I recognized I needed, and I'm just going to lay them there for now. So I go through all of these cards, and then I also go through what are the uncomfortable feelings I'm feeling. And you could really do one deck or the other first. It doesn't matter which one you start with. But uncomfortable feelings. So again, going through these decks, I didn't feel really irritable. I felt a bit uneasy and self-protective. Troubled, not really. Not really hesitant or withdrawn. Not skeptical, definitely not indifferent. So you put aside the cards that you don't feel. And these are also reduced decks that I'm showing you right now. The decks are much fuller, but I just want you to get a sense of how you use these decks. So I went through them, and there were some other cards that I discovered were also really true and alive for me. So I'm going to lay these out. And this is what you do actually, is you take time to just lay out the cards so that you can see them in front of you. So looking at some of the needs that I had here, and I'll tilt my computer up so you can see what's here. There we go. Okay, so some qualities that I really needed with my son were, my need for family, belonging. I needed stability for my son, and closeness to him. And with his stepmom, I was really longing for ease, communication, warmth, understanding, trust, support, sensitivity, and consideration, as well as the empathy, sense of equality. If my son's only at his dad's house and not with me, it just doesn't feel like there's a good equality in our parenting and connection with him. Of course, harmony, is something I think we all long for in our family relationships. And partnership, really, any way that my son's father and his girlfriend could show up in partnership, parenting partnership with me, really touched me. And, of course, these are some feelings that I was feeling at the time. Understandably, some difficult feelings coming up. And then I went through these other cards here, and I recognized that, when I connected with my son's stepmom, I felt sincere appreciation for her, because she really does show up a lot for my son, includes me in family gatherings, and I know that really takes something, and I can't take that for granted in our world. I feel compassionate for her. She's also, in many ways a single mom, and works really hard, and so I have understanding that she, of course, she's got considerations in her life too. I feel friendly towards her. She's just a good person. I felt hopeful that we could work something out, as difficult as the situation was. Grateful, just like appreciative. I felt relieved because I do know that I can really count on her to be there for my son. And overall, trusting. While we have some differences of opinion, overall my sense is that I can really trust in her intentions and desire to really show up. And so that, of course, gives me a genuine feeling of warmth, and I'm just touched by, again, her caring, especially for my son. And then this last set of cards are the Virtues cards, and these are the opportunities that I saw in connection to this challenge. I saw that I could really show up and be generous and helpful. Respectful, of course, is essential. Trustworthiness, absolutely essential, really in every area of life. This is like a foundational stone, cornerstone for building anything in any relationship. So, trustworthiness. To be honoring of her, this is her family, and so it's important. It's my family too, and really to be honoring that this is her family, this is her life, inclusive of her in decision making, and as it relates to my son, it's important to understand that she's very connected to him as well. Tactful, using timing and right words is important. Unifying, and in this sense, it's really connecting to that we are all a family, and so my context for relating to her is inside of that unifying principle. Visionary is that there is a new family dynamic that's possible here, and it's not what we traditionally see, but there is something that's possible. And wise, and that's really using spiritual wisdom. And for me, this form of communication, this heart-centered communication, is the wisdom that I have found to be the most practical, and to just give me the most guidance in terms of how to move forward with love, compassion, sensitivity. So those are the 4 decks of cards, and I lay them all out in front of me, and I might move some things around so I see how they interrelate, but it's kind of like, okay, here's where I'm at. And that's self-empathy, and it's really important that we connect in here first so that we really understand ourselves. And when we can do that, then we have space for understanding the other.